So, yes, my name is Jacques Arnould. I'm working for the French Space Agency, the CNES, or Centre National d'Études Spatiales. This public organization is in charge of space program in France and in connection with Europe or other countries around the world. And in this context, is first an organization of engineers and scientists. In this context, was now 12 years ago, was created a very singular mission, an ethical mission, and I am now ethic advisor for the CNES. Um, Ethics for us is not a question of authorization or interdiction. First, we want to introduce an interrogation. And this interrogation has three parts. First, why we are doing space program and space activities, the why question, how we are doing that, how we are realizing all this program, and with which consequences. And these three questions, why, how, and with which consequences, is the ground of all the daily mission of an ethics advisor. And it's a very interesting job because space activities are numerous, and are numerous also the relation between space activities, satellites, launcher, space exploration, and our daily life. Everybody today is always utilizing space technology, even if we ignore that. So space technology introduced a lot of evolution and modification in our daily life, and it's the basic matter of my work, trying to introduce interrogation in this space activity and consequence on societies.
So, can you give us an example of how we use space technology? Just one example in our daily lives.
Uh, First, when we open the TV or open the radio and try to know what the weather today or what the weather will be, we sometimes ignore. But the introduction of satellites now 40 years ago in the work in the science of weather was really a revolution. Until this time, people had only punctual data with a little measure on local measure, and with satellites they have a global view of every part on the Earth, on our planet, and it's a real revolution in the weather science. Because of this global view, and it's coming from space. The same with a GPS geopositioning system, or with the Earth observation. Everybody know now Google Earth and the capacity to have an overview of our planet. Before it was only coming from plane, and again it was a plane is only one way. It's very difficult to have a global view, but with satellites it's easier to have that, and it has some consequence of our way of life, but it has also ethical interrogation. How to share all this data, not only to collect and to process, but how to share, because it's a richness, not only a commercial value, is also a human value. And for me, it's a very ethical challenge to know how to build the future on this with all this space community, space cooperation, space collaboration. It's a challenging question for the future.
So, is there mood of sharing in the space community? I mean, in the global space community, or are people more protective of their individual knowledges?
Yes, it's a very interesting situation, because at the same time, due to the fact that space technology are very expensive, people are always trying to protect what they collect or what they by space. It could be also a strategical question. Military defense is always in connection with space. We know that, but and it's always real since the beginning of space. All this strategical or military dimension is very clear and is always existing. The commercial aspect is also very important. People are doing money and business with space technology, and they could be they have some difficulty probably to share sometimes their technology or their data. But at the same time, during the same period, we see that people are ready to collaborate and to cooperate. And at the beginning of space history, you find so many examples of countries trying to collaborate, to introduce cooperation. And now we have a very good example with the International Space Station, where you are, where a country as United States, Russia, Japan, Europe are collaborating together, even if on Earth they could have problems between them, they are always collaborating in space. So it's a very interesting situation where you can find a very different situation, but again, the question is, what is your goal? It's a wide question. If we decide to have a common station in space, okay, we try to establish what is necessary to remain in this collaboration spirit, and that's probably the specificity of space activities.
But you, as an ethical advisor, is that something that all the other organizations have too, or just the CNES?
Until now, I'm quite alone as generalist. I have a lot of colleagues and people in connection, in contact, who are engaged in a specific domain. For example, astrobiology, the research of life outside the Earth. It's a very interesting domain where people are asking ethical questions, how to protect the planet we are exploring, or how to protect Earth from sample coming from other planets. It's a very specific ethical question, but it's people engaged in a very specific domain, or the question of collection and sharing satellite data is the same. People are really interested by the rule to share or to collect this data, but again, nobody has this I can say this generalist mission. Normally I have to be interested by every subject and in connection with space activities.
It sounds interesting. So you were trained as a theologian. How did you come to work with space issues?
As theologian, I was very interested, and I am always very interested and engaged in the question of relation between science and religion. My subject of PhD was concerning the possible relation between evolution of life from a scientific point of view and the dogma of creation, and so it's always in connection with that. And even if yes, 20 years ago, I was totally ignorant concerning space activities, I met people from the space community, and step by step, they introduced me in this domain of space. And at least 12 years ago, we have this idea to create this ethical mission inside the CNES. Even if this mission, to this mission doesn't belong the theological dimension. In France, we have a real clear separation between religion and science, or religion and public affairs. So it's not my job to be theologian in the CNES, but at the same time, my education in theology is a real help to introduce this research dimension, or more philosophical dimension in the space community.
So, do you have something that you consider your personal mission?
Sorry, I don't understand. Uh,
That you consider your personal mission in life, something you want to achieve or want to offer.
ah, no, I think that it's first a sort of curiosity. I'm really curious to meet people, to uh, more than knowledge. It's more uh, meet people and trying to share some interrogation, some idea and some project, some goal, and trying to go forward in this direction. Uh, so that's the reason probably that my interest for the space community is that I discover in this community that we never arrive at the limits of the knowledge, and it's always something new to discover. And all this, when we have new knowledge, at the same time we have new question, and it's always questioning my own faith, my own knowledge, my own view, and yes, it's the occasion to go forward, to leave what I mean yesterday and to build today a new position and go forward for tomorrow. So it's my, I can say, my idea of the not only intellectual life but my life, my human life.
Did the film contribute to for you to the thinking and to the evolving of new thoughts? Did it taking part in that do anything for you?
Yeah, sure. When I received the invitation to participate to this film, it was a very good surprise. Just at the Christmas time, I remember, and because it was the first time I had the occasion to be introduced. This very uh, extraterrestrial world of the movie making, and it was a very interesting topic, very interesting subject, and the way that Michael chose to introduce me in this subject was very interesting. I remember I was very surprised to have to write a letter before my mission, before meeting the visitor. I said, well, what is that? It's a joke. And no, it was very interesting because it was a good way to say, okay, now uh, it's it's a it's a film, but in the same time you have to give all what you are, what you mean, and your question. And by the fact, it was a very concrete experience. And I'm very grateful to Michael and to you to give me this opportunity to do that. And it shows that when I discovered the film 1 year ago, and it was another very interesting experience because it was the first time that I see me on the screen, and this context of the film was very strange. And in the same time, um, I say, okay, and Michael say me, okay, we don't, it's impossible to use all what we have about you, but it's only a little in my memory, perhaps in your own technical memory. But I remember this long time in Copenhagen as a very human experience due to the fact of the cooperation with your team, with Michael, trying to make the best, to do the best, and at the same time you can say, yes, that's even if it's fiction, it could be possible in the future, and even if it's not the case, I mean, to have a visit from an extraterrestrial intelligence. In fact, it's every day that we can do the same. The visit is a daily experience, a possible daily experience. When you try to open your question, open your mind, open your own experience to another, without a total knowledge of what is the other. But it's the discovery of the other. It's a very interesting experience, and again, thank you to Michael and to you to give me, to offer me this very nice experience.
Well, we are the one to thank you. It was, but I think that somehow I felt that when you were talking about your mission and your curiosity, I think that to some extent, that's very much the same when you do films and documentaries like this, that you have this curiosity to always try to see new things, see things you know in new ways, and to meet people and have dialogues and get to know more about both this planet and about hypotheticals. And I wanted to ask also, the film puts up the hypothetical of a visit from extraterrestrial intelligent life, but in general, does hypotheticals, is that something you use in your daily work to try to think of situations that might occur and that you may have to have rules for and so forth?
I cannot say that it's my daily work to do that, but I try to do that as frequently as possible. Precisely at this moment, I try to do the same experience concerning theology. It's not in my work, my professional work, but when I have the occasion to give a conference or something like that, or to meet people, and when we share some question concerning space and the question of the extraterrestrial life, at every occasion people ask me, but what is changing in religion if we met extraterrestrial life tomorrow? And I am just now trying to say, okay, I know that this question is very old in the history of ideas and history of philosophy, history of theology, but until now, a lot of people are only debating. Yes, I agree, I disagree with the idea of extraterrestrial life due to my ideology, philosophical or theological ideology. And what I try now is to have this, and it's the film The Visit gave me the idea, say, okay, now they exist. The extraterrestrial life exists. I take this position, and now, how as theologian I can answer, I can read the Christian tradition with new eyes. It's not a question if they exist or not. No, they exist, and now what is changing in my way to read, to introduce a perspective or another perspective of the my religious tradition. So it's the same experience as in The Visit, but in connection with religious faith.
That's very interesting. So, and is there anything just to round it off? Is there anything you would like to add or share with us?
Again, first, really thank to you all in Copenhagen, and it was a very, and it's always a very interesting experience, and I try to share my enthusiasm with you now because I'm very, very enthusiastic with that. And it's not only a question of a past experience, but it's also a present and a little in the future due to your idea to open me this, to give me this opportunity. The second one is that I discovered the capacity of this sort of creation. I don't remember the name in English, but in French it's docu-fiction, documentaire fiction, and the power of the image, the power of the all this, yes, imagination and reality, and the power to tell very good and interesting question. When you send me before the Sundance Festival, you send me the possibility to see the film. I say no. I know that I have the opportunity to see on the screen. I prefer to in real situation and not alone before my computer. And it was a really a very profound experience, because it's yes, again, it's not only an aesthetical, it's really aesthetical, but it's I was and to that is the aesthetical quality of the film. But it's not only an aesthetical experience, it's also a philosophical experience with all these different perspective of this question due to the different participation and for the different actors, and it's a real rich experience, rich human experience, due to the fact that we are in imagination in connection with an other being. But again, it's what we can make every day if we agree to meet other people as different as me, and is the occasion to go outside myself to ask new questions. And again, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And I think that this ability to actually meet other people and be open to them is something which is very acute right now, that we really have to do.
and even if sorry, but even if it's difficult and perhaps dangerous, again, when Michael asked me to write this letter, I'm ready to enter this very strange experience without idea what arrived during this experience. Perhaps it could be bad result, but we have to go to yes, it's need courage, and we have to take at the same time to take care and to go forward. But I'm sorry. Pardon. So yes, it's yes, it was an alien. This experience, this daily experience, it's I can say the film is very concrete and very real, even if we don't see the visitor, so it could be everybody around us.